Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this midweek edition special of the HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at a topic titled Workplace Toxicity and Empathy. Our facilitator for tonight is somebody I hold very dearly, someone I have known for many, many years very closely, and somebody I can really vouch for from close quarters. Her name is Success Opoji. And I'll just read our profile briefly for the benefit of some of us who may just be getting to know her tonight. Success Erica Okoji is a highly accomplished human resource professional with over 6 years experience in talent acquisition, employee engagement, human capital development. She currently works with Ikeja Electric as employee experience supervisor. Just to note, Ikeja Electric has over 4,000 employees. She has successfully embodied and supported a large employee population, enhancing workplace productivity and fostering a positive organizational culture. In addition to her full-time role, Success is a freelance HR recruiter, leveraging her expertise to help organizations find and retain top talent. Just so you know, she has well over 50,000 followers on her LinkedIn page. Part of our areas of specialization, which I can attest to, includes talent acquisition and recruitment, employee engagement and welfare, HR strategy development, HR reporting and analytics, cultural awareness and sensitivity, team leadership and development, employee experience and enhancement, graphic design, which I can attest to. In fact, the second webinar we did was on, on using, what do you call it now? PowerPoint, which she taught us. She was the second person ever to do a webinar for us on HR mentorship. That's quite a long time ago. Success holds a BSc in Business Administration from Babcock University and a Master's in Industrial and Labor Relations from the University of Lagos. Our commitment to continuous learning is evident through various certifications in emotional intelligence, leadership, and personal development. She's passionate about using her skills to drive organizational success and create a positive impact in the workplace. It's my privilege to see my sister, my friend, my colleague after a long while. Success, good to see you. You have the floor, please. Success, you can unmute and take over if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much to be here. Thank you very much, everyone that is here, for having me. So today I'm going to just quickly dive into the topic. It's very interesting, and it's something that I have been looking at over time. I'm going to be talking about workplace toxicity and empathy. So what exactly is that? So before I go on today, I want us to quickly watch a video, which I'm also going to explain briefly what the video, or summarize what the video is all about. It's talking about empathy, okay? Telling us we need to practice, demonstrate empathy, not just in our personal life, but also at work. When someone comes to work, look at the person's countenance and find out, are you okay? Especially when you see that someone comes to work down or in an angry state. There's something we do at the place where I work. Whenever someone says hello, the first thing is, if you're looking at the person smiling or this person looking down. Now, if the person is looking down, we usually ask, are you okay? Is something wrong? What happened at home? Are you fine? Do you get? Because a lot of things can happen. And like I used to say, yes, we spend majority of our time at work, maybe 6 hours, 8 hours at work, right? It's going to definitely affect our day, right? And whatever happens at home or in our personal life or wherever it happens, it also affects our work. It's just interchangeably, right? So I'm going to be talking about these few things, right? I'm going to introduce the topic, and also going to be talking about what is workplace toxicity, what causes it, what are the consequences of toxicity in the workplace, what is empathy, how can you show empathy in the workplace, then how to foster empathy in the workplace, and also comparing the two and strategies to combat workplace toxicity, right? So please, like I said earlier, work in the office is also going to affect us individually, no matter how we look at it, okay? In our personal lives, it's going to definitely affect us. And our personal life as well is also going to affect our work in the office some way or another. I know a lot of people will say, you should be able to separate your work from your personal life. You should be able to differentiate the two. Sometimes it's not so easy. For example, let's say someone lost his or her family member, right? Or a close friend. It's definitely going to affect that person's demeanor at the office, okay? And it's also going to affect the person's performance at work. So if the person is coming to work and is not, that's why we usually encourage time out from work, especially when it has to do with a loss or someone, right? We also encourage employees going on leave. This going on leave and having time out for yourself also would help to combat being toxic at the office. Now, a lot of times we also look at emotional intelligence. Most of our employees, both senior level and junior level, they don't have emotional intelligence. These things also summarizes and affects us having a work toxicity, right? So we need to look at it. How can workplace toxicity affect our professionalism, affect our performance, and affect our collaboration and being inclusive at the workplace? So simply put, right? Sorry, hold on. Kindly confirm that you can still see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, but I think it's my...
But maybe it's your desktop or something.
Yes, I noticed it's... Okay. Okay. Is it back up?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so what is workplace toxicity? It's an environment where you have people that bring negative behaviors, attitudes, which affect people's productivity and job satisfaction, right? So negative behaviors are when people are stressed out at work, when you create an hostile environment for people, like bullying, gossiping. You can also say negative behaviors is favoritism, when you see maybe a colleague or a line manager favoring someone, okay, or micromanagement or disrespect. All these are negative behaviors and attitudes. Now, the impact of these, of a workplace being toxic on employees is stress. It can lead to stress and burnout. Now, that is one thing I know that as HR professionals don't want to see our employees go through, right? So it can also lead to low morale, okay? Employees being disengaged. They are not motivated to come to work. They don't find the joy of coming to work. It can also lead to reduced job satisfaction. It can also lead to health issues as well. Anxiety, depression, and decreased productivity can also lead to high turnover rate of employees. Okay, now let me give you a quick example of something that recently happened to me in the office. My boss was doing some changes. She wanted the sitting arrangements in the office to be changed. So she walked up to me and said, "Success, I know you are good in graphic designing and designing, so just change the look of the office." So I said, okay. So I drew how I wanted the office to look like. I showed her, I showed everybody, because my office were very inclusive. So I showed everybody in the office, this is where you're going to be sitting and all that. So I arranged the office, and immediately I did that, my boss came to me and was angry, shouting, "No, I don't want to sit here anymore. She wants to sit where I'm supposed to sit." And I'm like, but I drew this sitting arrangement on paper and I showed it to you. So how come you approved it, right? So how come you're coming back to say you no longer want to sit there? So we had an argument about it, but I let it go. So the next day I came back and I found out that she had moved my things to another location and took my new sitting position. That alone destabilized me. I was not happy. I was upset, but I just had to swallow it up and did not say anything. So my other colleagues noticed. I was like, this is not right. This is. So I just kept quiet. The next day, I noticed she had rearranged it back. And you know what happened that really uplifted me? She came back to apologize. And she was like, she had to sit back down and ask herself, so why did she do that? Is it because she wanted to prove a point that she's the boss? Do you get my point? So that whole incident could have destabilized me, which actually did. But for the fact that she realized that she made a mistake and came back to apologize, it made me calm. The stress and the depression I was feeling just went away. And we actually talked, and that was it, right? So this could, for some other people that are probably line managers, these are what the things that they do that affect employees, their employees, and make the workplace toxic for them. Okay, so this is how toxicity impacts employees, right? What are the causes? What are the causes of toxicity in workplace? They are bad leadership. I just gave an example of what happened to me. If not that, she realized that, okay, what she did was wrong, we would have both been at each other. And you can imagine how it will look like when a subordinate, a line reports and a line manager are at each other. There will be no work done, okay? The work productivity will be low, performance will be low for both the line reports and the line manager, right? So one of the causes of toxicity in the workplace is poor leadership. And another powerful cause of workplace toxicity is unhealthy competition and power struggle, where you have employees that they want to prove a point that yes, I'm the head and the alpha and the omega. So whatever suggestions that the line reports are giving or new insights, they don't want their line reports to maybe make suggestions or give their opinions, and they give they set out unrealistic goals. Okay. Another thing is unclear communication and lack of transparency. Now, let me give you an example of something that happened today. There was an employee that called me and was shouting, I'm at the hospital, I'm not able to access care. So I was like, okay, give me the background story. What happened? So apparently there was a miscommunication between my boss and the staff. So I had to make the communication clear that, okay, this is actually the policy, right? And to cut the long story short, the employee was so happy and said something that made me just smile. He said, I would prefer to talk to you next time. Why? Because I was able to communicate clearly and make the employee understand what the policy and the processes state. Now, most line managers, let me not say it's not just line managers, most employees, they don't communicate clearly. They are not able to be transparent on the policies and the processes. There's always a hidden agenda or a miscommunication, or that's why in the office, I usually, when there's a KPI that is set, I usually say to them, are you sure that everybody understands this KPI that you have set in place? Are you sure you've gotten feedback from the person you gave the KPI to? Because you can set a KPI for an employee and the person is not okay with it, right? So what's going to happen is not just about setting KPI or setting objective for employee, and the employee is not okay with that KPI that has been set. So one major cause of toxicity in the workplace is unclear communication and lack of transparency. Another thing is unresolved conflict and grudges. Like I explained, the example I gave earlier about my boss and she moving the chairs around. Now, that could have escalated beyond what it should have, right? But the fact that she realized, and apart from she realizing, I too was going to walk up to her to ask her, if not that she walked up to me and said, okay, I apologize. I already had it in mind to walk up to her and say, okay, what exactly is the issue? Why did you feel the need to go down this route? Let me give you another example of an incident that happened. Sorry, I like giving examples so that you understand where I'm coming from. There was one of our employees that I was having a communication with, and I said something that apparently I shouldn't have said. I think I said, okay, I was, it had to do with a medical issue. So the person did not report the incident and just paid out of pocket. So I'm like, you didn't follow process, you should have reported it, and so what do you get? So apparently the fact that what I was saying to the employee made it look like I did not care about her predicament or about her situation was upsetting to her, which I didn't know, because I actually didn't know what I said to her that was offensive to her. But the fact that she walked away from the conversation and was angry about it, I had to call her the next day and like, okay, please, what exactly did I say that turned you off, that made you angry and you were yelling at me? And she told me, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And since then, in short, she was even happy that I actually came to her to apologize, because she said she did not even want to talk to me again, that I was rude, I was disrespectful. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Now, there's a lot of good that comes when employees learn to resolve conflict, learn to apologize, okay? Because it's all these things actually would affect both the relationship at work and affects you personally. Because let me tell you the truth, that incident, I couldn't get it off my mind throughout the night till the next day. And that was why I had to walk up to her and like, okay, what exactly did I do? So that going forward, I don't make that same mistake with you or with any other person. So we need to learn to resolve conflicts in the workplace. Another causes of workplace toxicity is stressful work environment or excessive workload. A job that you're supposed to give to 2 people, you are giving it to 1 person. A job that is supposed to be given to 3 people, 1 person is doing the job. It can be very stressful, and sometimes, in short, a lot of times, that job is not done. That's task, the objective, the timeline is not done. Why? Because that employee is stressed out. Let's not forget that it's not only work. People also have personal lives. People also have things that they are dealing with. So we need to, as much as we can, create a balance for our employees, to create a balance in the workplace. Another cause of toxicity is the culture, organizational culture, and bad hires. Now, we need to look at people's, we need to look at the people that we're hiring. We need to screen them very well. I am one person that sits in the recruitment process, both in Ikeja Electric and for other companies, right? When I see, I look out for people's attitude and behavior during the hiring process. When I see someone answering a question with an I don't care attitude, or the person, you're having an interview with the person, you're talking to the person, and the person is looking somewhere else, or all those things is something that we should look out for. Okay? Please, are you still with me?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Now, what is the consequence of workplace toxicity? These are a few of them. The first one is high employee turnover and retention issues. This is a big one for an organization that has toxicity, a toxic environment. You will have a lot of employees resigning. And I always say to people that resign, do you know that it will take much more time, much more money to employ a replacement of that person? Why? Because an employee that leaves, let's say a supervisor that leaves an organization, and the person before he or she left is earning 250,000 naira. If you're going to hire another supervisor, you would spend more money in doing pre-employment medical for the person. You will spend money in doing clearance check, that's certification for check for the person. And that person might not even want to come at a 250,000 naira. You might need to increase the salary to 300. Okay, so I always say this to people that have toxic environment at work. It's going to definitely affect your employees resigning from that company. So you need to, we as HR, as employees, we need to find a way to ensure we don't have a workplace that is toxic. And I also encourage people that learn to listen, do less of talking and shouting and trying to prove a point. Learn to listen to your employees, learn to listen to your colleagues, and digest whatever he or she is saying or whatever the issue is before you talk about it. Okay. Another cause of toxicity is low productivity and performance. When an environment is toxic, when there's no good relationship, when attitudes behaviors are negative, you have negative behaviors, attitudes are wrong, the performance rate will be very low. You don't expect a team that maybe one or two people are keeping mileage to do the job well, or one or two people are gossiping or bullying each other to get the job done. It's not possible. It's definitely going to affect the performance of that team. Another cause is absenteeism. This would definitely increase absenteeism in the office. Nobody wants to go to a place that is toxic, that they are shouting, that they are being bullied, that they are being gossiped about. Nobody wants that, or have lack of empathy. Nobody wants to go to that kind of place. Now, recently, I discovered that some people there was a colleague from another organization that reached out to me and was like, some people, they've noticed that some people turn in, for lack of a better word, fake sick leave certificates. So I was like, how did you know it was fake or doctored? She said she just knows. And I asked her, I said, have you contacted the employee to find out why he or she did that? Because at the back of my mind, I'm like, nobody wants to turn in a fake or doctored sick leave certificate. There should be something that happened or triggered that. So I'm like, find out why. It could be the work environment is toxic or not being favorable for her or him, right? So these things increase absenteeism at work, poor employee health and well-being. People, when an environment is toxic, it can lead to depression. It can lead to migraines. It can lead to different kind of illness. Okay, so that's why I'm one person that advocates for the workplace being enjoyable for people to be in. Another point is damage employees' morale and engagement. When somebody is being bullied, it damages that person's morale. That person will never be engaged. That person will never want to come to the office. In short, the work will be tiring for such an employee, that the workplace is toxic. It can also lead to potential risk, legal risk and costs. Now, I will explain this. And it can also lead to direct financial loss. This direct financial loss has to do with hiring, replacement of employees. When you have to, at every point in time, replace an employee that exits the company due to a workplace being toxic. Now, potential legal risk and costs when an employee is being bullied. It's just that here in this part of the world, it's very rare for people to see that, oh, an employee is suing the company or an employee is suing the boss for bullying. It actually happens. And this can cost the company a lot of money, especially when it's legal issue arises out of being bullied or being harassed or gossiped about. So these few points are actually one of the most of the major causes of consequences of workplace toxicity, and we really need to look at it and tackle it so that things like this do not escalate. Now, I'm going to be talking about empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others instead of putting yourself, putting yourself in their shoes and seeing from their perspective. At the beginning of this year, unfortunately, I lost someone, and I got that call in the office. And I can tell you, it really broke me. It tore me apart. And apparently, the person called, or I got that sad news in the office. Now, I'm grateful for the kind of office environment I work at or I work in. Why do I say that? Because the way my colleagues handled me that day, I was shocked. In short, they took it as though they also lost someone, and they ensured that I got home safely. In short, they told a driver to take me home. Not many organizations or not many team members, even in the same place I work, not many team or department would do that, right? This is because they lack empathy. We need to put ourselves in the shoes of the people that work around us. We need to actually be to actually sympathize with them, because a lot of people are going through a lot. People are going through a lot. And if we do not demonstrate and practice empathy, we'll be seen as people that don't care. We'll be seen as people that do not have emotional intelligence. And especially for HR people, we need to demonstrate and practice empathy. We need to actually actively listen and be observant, and also pay attention to everything and everyone around us. That is what empathy is. And it's not something that you say, oh, okay, I need to come to the office and be hard and be tough so that I'll be respected. No, nobody respects people that are nobody respects people that do not have emotions. So how do we demonstrate empathy at work? For me, I would always say practice empathy. Before I joined the Keja Electric, I was one person that I don't listen to anybody. It is what I want that happens, and is whatever I say that happens. But joining a Keja Electric and working in a working environment has changed my perspective about life. It had made me to be able to learn how to communicate more, also learn how to create an environment where everybody is being included. It is not something that happened overnight, I can tell you for sure. It is something I had to practice. And that's why I said demonstrating empathy at work is something you need to practice. I always say that. Let me give a simple example. Someone walks up to you and says, maybe it could even be a driver that walks up to you and say, madam, please, I'm not happy today. I can't work today. I'm feeling sick. You cannot tell the driver, no, you are the only one in the office. You must work today, or else you will not get paid. For you to be an empathetic person, you need to, even if you do that, even if that's what you said, right? Now, practicing empathy, bring yourself back and say, oh, okay, sorry, come. Please come. What exactly is the matter? Why are you saying you can't work today? Let the person explain. Even if your first reaction or your first response to whatever the person has said was negative, for you to be able to practice empathy, you go back to that person and say, sorry, sorry for how I reacted. Please, what exactly is the problem? That is you practicing, that is you trying to demonstrate empathy. So how do we foster empathy in the workplace? You have to lead by example. Now, when the driver sees that, madam actually called me back to apologize for how she reacted to me, it will make that driver want to follow your lead. I actually like what she did. She or he was being empathetic, right? He or she cares. So that driver would now want to, apart from the driver, there could be other people that is watching you. They would also want to see, they would also follow that footstep. They will say, oh, that person is actually a good leader. That person actually cares. So you need to lead by example. For you to say, yes, you are at a stage where you can call yourself an empathetic person, you have to lead by example. Also, we can provide empathy training. A lot of times, organizations, we do emotional intelligence training. Yes, we should also learn to put empathy training as well. Imagine there was a manager that said, people are always training on emotional intelligence. Let me just tell you, I'm not emotionally intelligent. I am not emotionally intelligent. Imagine someone who is a manager saying that to a subordinate, right? So we need, apart from being training on emotional intelligence, we also need to train on empathy as well. And for that person, I was telling the person that told me that, thank God I was not there. I would have just called aside and said, Madam, I'm highly disappointed in you, because you're not supposed to be saying things like that. If you are not emotionally intelligent, you also need to practice it. You also need to go for trainings. And that's why these trainings are there. Sometimes I used to wish that this I don't even know which is better. Is it online or physical training? Because online, a lot of times people are, especially in the office, right? People are being distracted. So is it better to have a physical training where you're seeing everybody and everybody's listening to you? Sometimes I feel that way, that, okay, let's see, but this, most of the trainings that happen when people are not at work, like now, people are actually paying attention, people are actually listening, right? So that's, well, that's by the wayside. So the next thing or point I want to point out is encourage open communication. So I like it when I see managers or line managers trying to get feedback from their line reports. Something happened about 2 months ago. Our chief called me. We were having a meeting, and after the meeting, he just said, "How would you rate me?" And I'm like, okay, for our chief to be asking me how would I rate him? Yeah, I felt, yes, because he wants to communicate and see, how do people see me? And I think that is one thing that we should learn to do. Even our work as HR professionals, ask questions. How do you see me? There's one of our HR BPs that always sends out survey to get feedback from employees to know how they view him, right? So it's one thing that we should learn to do, communicate. Don't, when things go wrong, when somebody upsets you in the office, or even if it's not someone that upsets you in the office, try to communicate and talk to someone. Boss, I'm not in a good mood. Can we talk about this later? Or even if you don't want to let the person know they're in a good mood, can we reschedule this meeting so that, just give me 10 minutes. You need to learn to communicate instead of just bottling things up. So like I said, we need to encourage open communication, and that would also allow our employees to communicate with us freely. Also, embrace diversity and inclusion. This one is very simple. We need to learn to include people, not micromanaging people, not having favoritism in the office. Those little things causes toxicity in the workplace. Practice empathetic leadership. I already spoke about that. As a leader, you need to practice being empathetic to people and in situations that you find yourself. Because this singular thing would encourage your employees to want to work with you. You don't want to have people that don't want to work with you. I always say, if your line report gets an E in performance, you as a line manager, you should not be expecting to get an E. You shouldn't expect that you should get an E. No, your line report got an E. You too should get an E, because it means that the job was not done. And all these little things affect the performance, the output of the job. Share motivational stories on empathy. You can do that to encourage people to always be empathetic and to also show concern. Build opportunities for bonding. This is also one way to encourage empathy in the workplace. We need to have time to bond as employees. I like the fact that there's a friend of mine, they go for team bonding twice a month. They can go to the beach, they can go to the bar. It makes that's a time for bonding. It's not just work. Like I said earlier, you spend 6 to 8 hours of your day at work and you come back home, you're tired. Whatever happens at the office will definitely affect you in your personal life. I remember years back when I just joined the Keja Electric, I was still trying to build myself and all that. There was something my sister said to someone. I was hearing them talk about me. I was somewhere else, but I was hearing them talk. Say, Success is always coming home very angry. She would just come very angry, enter the room and lock the door. So I'm like, what happened? What do you mean? She said, yes, when you just come back from work, you just be splitting your face, you'll be angry. And then it made me to realize that whatever happens at work will definitely affect my countenance, my behavior, my attitude outside the office. So I try my possible best to ensure that work is fun and is a happy place for me. So that by the time I leave the office or go wherever I'm going to or get back home, I'm happy and I can communicate and not bottle up things. Okay, so these are some of the key things to foster empathy in the workplace. Please, if you have any question, you can put it in the chat. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be comparing between empathy and a toxic environment, okay? Like I keep saying, and I said earlier, organizations, we need to promote an empathetic environment. And for us to do that, we even have to, first of all, address the toxic behaviors that we see in the workplace, in the office. We need to address that first before we can say, okay, let's see how we can promote our office being an empathetic environment. So firstly, you can see empathy is building connections and understanding, right? A toxic environment, a toxic workplace breeds misunderstanding, mistrust, fear, and resentment. Nobody wants to be in that kind of place where you're always afraid to come to work. I remember a few years back at, I think the first year of my working in the HR space or even in the work environment, I was always afraid to come to work. But as time went on, I could see that leaders, employees around me, and even myself has grown. Why? Because we're able to build connections and understanding between each other, knowing when to cross the line, not to cross boundaries. Okay, so empathy focuses on listening. You need to listen. You need to listen to employees. While a toxic environment encourages hostility, it encourages disrespect, which is not something that we want to see. Empathy creates a supportive and inclusive environment where people can come to the office. There's one thing I like about my office is that sometimes somebody in the office will just come and say, okay, I'm taking care of everybody's breakfast, right? This is including everybody. You're just trying to make your office space happy. And that is so that you can encourage people to work in a inclusive, happy space. You don't want people being feeling they are being harassed or discriminated on. That is the other part. That's the toxic part of the work environment, right? When toxicity enables harassment, discrimination, and unethical behavior. But for empathy, it's inclusion. It brings people together. Okay. Toxic environments has to do with conflict, power struggle. Everybody's struggling. I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss's boss. No, all of that is very unhealthy. All the unhealthy competition, that is very unhealthy and can lead to depression, can lead to a lot of health issues for people. But an empathetic environment, you try to resolve the conflict, you try to diffuse conflict, you show compassion, you talk things, you communicate, you enhance open communication and try to solve problems. But in a toxic environment, you have where people are not wanting to work. It decreases productivity. People will not be creative, right? People will not want to be innovative. Why? Because the environment is toxic. For an environment that is empathy, that displays empathy, you can see that it leads to high employee engagement and well-being. But for a toxic environment, it contributes to high stress, low morale, and burnout. People are tired. People don't want to come to work. People are feeling like they are a failure, or they are not needed, or nobody loves them, or nobody cares about them. That is as a result of a toxic environment. An environment that has empathy fosters trust, respect, okay, and safety for people. But an environment that is toxic leads to employee turnover. It also damages the workplace culture. Okay, that's for a toxic environment. It damages, people don't want to even come there. When the people that resign go out there, talk to people, that company, hey God, is a very toxic company. You don't want to go there. They bully people, they do this, they do that. Even you will not even see people to hire, because nobody wants to come to a place where it's toxic. Nobody wants to come to a place where they would be bullied. Okay. Empathy, you have people that empathy creates a positive and a mental health healthy work environment. That is what empathy does. Okay, but toxicity creates a negative and damaging atmosphere. Okay, empathy unites and brings out the best in people, but toxicity divides and brings out the worst in people. Empathy thrives on mutual understanding, but a toxic workplace, you have people that are blaming each other, you have people that are gossiping, you have resentment. All this, you can see the difference between empathy and toxicity, right? I would choose an environment that is empathetic to people. I would choose an environment that cares for his employees. I would choose an environment that is loving and wants to see that the employees there grow. Okay, that is what I would choose. So what are the strategies to combat workplace toxicity? We need to establish clear policies and consequences. What are the consequences for bullying, right? You need to also open avenues for people to communicate issues like this and give feedback. Now, it's not, there are a lot of times that I hear people say, and If I report my boss, my boss will find out. Or if I report my boss, they will not do anything about it. That is a toxic work environment. If an employee can walk up to maybe a boss or a HR person and say, I want to confide in you. I'm not happy at work. My boss is bullying me. My boss is harassing me. And the person cannot get comfort in telling you that you are not. For me, as a HR person, that HR person is not doing his or her job. Okay. Also, provide training and education. We need to train our employees. You can have this as a training in your organization, where you work. You can have this as a training, empathy, toxic workplace. You can have this as a training, which will also be good. Let people know that these things are actually let people know how to differentiate the two. Okay. Also, promote a positive workplace culture. I'm one person that when I get to the office, when I was working in the outstation at the time, I'm one person that I like to go around and greet everybody and ensure everybody's happy, that was actually me trying to create a positive work environment for my employees, to ensure that everybody's happy, to ensure that everybody is comfortable. Because at the end of the day, if your employees are emotionally down, if they are not if they are emotionally down, they will not be motivated to do the work. You have people that like are sleeping on their desk, or you have people that are absent from work, like the example I gave earlier. So we need to ensure that we address issues promptly and transparent. So when issues come to you, address it immediately. Always listen to both parties, or whatever issue that comes to you. Always listen before you give feedback, or before you escalate the issue to whoever you're escalating the issue to. Lead by examples at all levels. So encourage that your managers lead by example. Okay. Encourage that your supervisors at the office lead by example. Even the officers, encourage them to lead by example, because they are all looking at each other. If officer 1 can do it, that means officer 2 can do it. So encourage people to lead by examples. Promote work-life balance and wellness. Ensure that you let employees go on leaves, and also let employees go and check their health. There's something that we want to start doing at the offices. Well, we've been doing it, but now we want to make it more elaborate. We have people, doctors, nurses that come to the office to do health check for employees. But now we want to even create a window where they can go to the hospital close to them and do a comprehensive check. Because a lot of times these doctors and nurses come to the hospital, to the offices, they don't do all the comprehensive checkup, right? So now we're giving them a time to say, okay, you are going on leave, Abby. Go to the hospital and do a comprehensive checkup that you are okay. So you need to promote that, right, for employees. Sorry, excuse me. So we can all see that for us to have a successful organization, for us to see our organization grow, for us to see our employees be motivated at work, and also putting in the work, right? An empathetic environment will be the best place for all that to happen. Okay. Employees feel valued, motivated, and committed to their work and their team when they are working in an environment that has empathy, that is empathetic. An environment where people are disrespected, they are unsupported, they are disengaged, they are being bullied and harassed. There's no employee that would want to work in such an environment. Okay, so any questions? Okay, before we ask our questions, I want us to quickly watch a short video. Okay, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want us to quickly watch a short video. Okay. So we put ourselves in other people's shoes. Okay, when somebody comes to you angry, shouting, and trying to say something to you, just calm down and listen. That's one thing about being empathetic. For you to be an for you to show empathy towards people, you need to listen to whatever they're saying, no matter how they are communicating or saying it to you. Just listen. And I always say, yes, you listen, and you don't have to respond to the person immediately. You can just say, okay, I've heard you. Give me some time to think about it, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so thank you very, very much. Is there any questions? Is there any? Mr. Yemi?
Adenike's hand. I don't know whether it's a question or a contribution. Adenike Adewi, you have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that timely and brilliant lecture. I want to ask this question that in case not even in case, anyway, I have someone that I've gone through this. Is it bullying? Is it toxicity in the work environment for years? In fact, at the time I was having anxiety, I couldn't sleep. I will have big palpitation because there's nothing that you do that the person tends to appreciate. And it was so worse that, for example, now you're in level 14 and the person is trying to, for example, wanted to share something and a level 10, was it level 10 or level 9? She was then. Now, officer, your boss now trying to give you, putting the person that is on level 9 or 10 to the same level with you on level 14 and giving you, let's say you are sharing something, the same thing is to that extent that, and when she calls you, she wants to call you to the office, she wants to talk and talk and talk, and there's nothing, and she will even tell you that there's nothing you can tell her, that the moment she has made over, this is what I want to do, that she wants to do it, because you know you have also said it, okay, have time with the person, you have said it in your lecture to have time with the person and discuss. The person is tell you that is what she actually thinks best for her that she wants to do. It does not matter how you feel. And not that you cannot make proposal to say, okay, please go to your, at least we all have superior, we all have admin director to go there and say, okay, please take me to another place to work, take me to another ward. But sometimes, I mean, something behind my heart, I won't feel fulfilled leaving that place, going to another place. When I think of, oh, we have limited hands in this department or in this that are specialists, and you think of, I put myself in the position of the patient and say, how would they get help if I should leave because of what I'm going through? In fact, about 1 or 2 times I've gone for ECG when I was having serious palpitation, headache, all those things that you explain, ma. One, I've experienced it. I could remember years back, my husband he said something that day, say, what is your problem? Because the moment I'm leaving home like this, my heart will do gbru. My heart will sound as if my heart will collapse. And my husband has to say, you both beg to apply, you all beg to apply for this job. So why is it? It's not the one that employed you. Both of you are employees. So what can you do anyway? If you work with someone that said no, it's what she wants to do and nobody can change it, and you intend to still stay there and work.
Success, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma, for that question. My advice is, when you're working with someone that is, for lack of a better word, let me say difficult. You see the person as being difficult. Whatever the person wants you to do, just do it. I've had such experience where my boss wants me to do a particular task, and I know that if I do it my way, we will achieve better results. But the fact, so that we don't quarrel or there's no attack on each other or back-to-back backlash, I just do what she wants. Now, majority of the time, when I do what she wants, it fails. And when it fails, I'll say, ma, actually, this is what I intended for us to do. And she say, okay, let's try it your way. And it works. So usually I advise, do whatever your boss wants you to do, and do it without feeling angry or remorse or resentful towards him or her, right? Because at the end of the day, this is work, okay? And this is your boss. So him or her is the person that you report to and you should listen to, all right? So that's my advice for you. Just do whatever your boss says. And once in a while, try to be friendly with your boss. There was, I'll give an example. There's a particular task my boss wants me to do. She wants me to do aerobics in the office. And I'm like, I've done it on so many occasions, and it never works. So I'm like, you can't put this in my KPI because I cannot be doing aerobics. People don't want to come and do aerobics. But she insisted. I said, okay. Now, what I did was to tweak it up a little bit, right? What I then added games to it. Nobody wants to, after working from 9 to 5, now come and be doing exercise downstairs. Everybody wants to go home. So what I did was I added games to it. I added refreshments. So to call people's attention to, oh, okay, at least let's just go and play games, or let's just talk and all that. So what I would advise is, yes, do what she says you should do. Try and tweak it up a little bit if you can. And also try and be friends or communicate with your line manager. That's my advice on that.
Just to add 1 or 2 things. if it is a setting where you could escalate to, for example, the director of admin, but escalating without asking to be redeployed, perhaps they may be able to talk to him or her and draw his attention. It's helpful if you have evidence, maybe recordings or something, so that it's not your word against his, if there are documentation or substantiation or email exchanges or text message exchanges or WhatsApp exchanges to show that, is out of line. You understand? That's one. Two, depending on who you are and what you believe, there are also strategies to move mountain. You can activate it. Because of your age, I know you know what I'm saying. So activate those other options to move the mountain. If you don't get it, forget about it. All right, we'll quickly move to the next person here. We have Inedima Okeke. You can unmute, please, and make your contributions or ask your questions.
Hi, Emmy. Good evening. Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, success. Well done. That was a fantastic
Good evening.
delivery. Yeah, Nene here.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd actually dropped my question in the chat box, but I think it will be faster if I summarize. I think I have two things, please. Number one is success. You made a reference to wrong hire, where you suddenly find out that, okay, you've hired someone who is totally averse to the culture of the organization, and such that whatever you do as the line manager to bring this person to see what you are seeing or to align to the company's objectives and all that, the person will never see it. And no matter how much you try to correct that person, the person sees it as if you're even the one controlling her and goes around labeling you as being toxic. Number two is where you find yourself in an environment of a one-man set of kind of business. In some cases, you find out that they have certain culture that you do not want to drive as head of HR, but because your boss is the owner of the business and all that, please, how do you navigate out of that? Because you've seen that driving such culture, which is not written anywhere in the offer of employment or in the handbook, but just maybe some sort of personal convictions of the owner. So he's trying to transfer his kind of personality into his business. You know that this is outrightly not okay to do. It's a bit negatively impacting, and you don't want to push for such. Please, how do you manage that? Again, I'm asking this because someone just joined an organization, a one-man sort of organization, and the person is being asked to take certain steps that are quite negatively impacting on the employees. You don't want to do that, but again, they are going to confirm you, and the owner may see you as not aligning to his business vision. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Yemi, you're laughing. Well, that's actually a difficult one to handle, but it's still not difficult if you have policies and processes in place, right? Now, if you have policies and processes in place, you can actually query the person. That's one step you can take. Another step you can take is you have a communication with that person, right? Mr. Emi was saying documentation, documents, record, and all that. Yes, when you have all that, you can literally query the person, and you can also have a communication with the person so that the person aligns with the company's objectives and goals. So that's one way you can tackle it. But where you're finding it difficult to communicate with the person and get to the person is when you now query the person and probably take the person for disciplinary hearing.
Let me just quickly add to that. I think she asked two questions. So with respect to the first question, in other words, the new employee or new hire who is not seeing the same perspective as the incumbent or the manager or supervisor, one thing that I always find useful is to either refer to an existing document. Now, this document can be the employee handbook. This document could be, for example, the organization's core values. Why? You need something neutral to be an arbiter. So if, for example, the employee handbook says this is the definition of bullying, it could also say what does not constitute bullying. For example, demanding for performance on the job is not bullying. So that the clarification, it is not the supervisor that is, so to speak, providing clarification for the new hire. It may also be helpful if you can invite a neutral party. A neutral party here can be somebody superior to both of you or somebody in between the two of you who that other employee respects or owes dearly, or at least assumes that person is neutral. Or in some instances, and I've done it before, where call a meeting of like 10 people, erase the matter without anybody knowing beforehand to say, if this is the situation, if this is the scenario, what is the interpretation? So by the time 8, 9 people of 12 unanimously agree that something is right or wrong, it quickly clarifies to the person. And if you are the one that needs to make adjustments, you also get the clarity because it's a spontaneous action. 8 people cannot decide to be unreasonable or ignorant at the same time. So I hope that helps. That's just to add to what my colleague, my friend, my sister, Success had said. Now, the other party question, which speaks to the one-man business or what we call owner-managed business. You know, I'll take 2 or 3 steps backward, even though that's not the question, but it's helpful. That's why when you are going to work with any one-man business, when during the interview process, try and also interview back. You will either say that when you ask certain questions during the interview, either they will dodge it or they will parry it or they may dance around the question. We want to check. For example, is this one-man business a respecter of the labor laws? Now, again, when you are asking people questions, you know, sometimes it's just like maybe you want to date somebody and you ask a man or a woman that, do you slap your previous girlfriend or boyfriend? They'll probably say no, even if they do. So it could be helpful to, if you could find people already working there who have worked there in the past to, you know, gauge them, sound them out. And don't say, I don't know anybody. If you are committed to collecting an offer of employment from an organization, 1 week before you sign the letter, go there very early or towards closing hours, enter bus with one of their staff, pay their transport, you strike a conversation, or go during lunch, if there is one bar or something they hang around, sit with 1 or 2 of them, pay for their lunch, strike a conversation. People are very quick to open up, especially in this part of the world. That's on one side. The other one is you have already entered one chance. Let's call it one chance. You see, I'm a realist. The vision of the owner is out. Now, if the person is, the one man is telling you to do something completely, outrightly illegal, please don't. Even if they document it, if it is completely illegal, don't. But you know, there are some things that they are on the gray area. So they are not legally wrong. But maybe your own personal and professional conscience cannot carry it. Then, in some instances, if there's, ensure that there's the documentation. I don't take instruction that is just verbal. If you instruct me verbally, I will send you a mail to say, Mr. Dear MD, you said this. Confirm my understanding of it is accurate and approve to implement. If you do not respond, I'll take it as a denial of the approval. So that way, the only way they can tell me to do is to say, go ahead. And 2 or 3 times I've done it. I'm sure when they read the email, they knew that if this thing backfires, everything will pin on them. In some other instances, some of these people look for the time when they're in a good moment, maybe in the morning or in the evening, in the afternoon, depending on who they are. Try and find a way to penetrate them. Some of these people too may have one or two allies in the organization. Some MDs, for example, may be the CFO, maybe CMO. It may even be someone middle, maybe somebody that is their cousin, nephew. Just look for one stakeholder that has one hold or grip over them and try and explain logically, rationally to those people. Hopefully, they'll be rational enough to see your logical points, if genuinely have points. So you can say, look at what the labor law says. Look at cases that have been done, for example, in industrial arbitration court. If this thing backfires, see how it is not in the short and long-term interest of the MD and the organization. If that doesn't work, please, hopefully you've not updated your LinkedIn that you're already working in that organization since you are still talking about confirmation. And that's why for many places I've worked in the past, especially the ones I wasn't sure about until I didn't put them on my LinkedIn so that if I need to delete. No, it's true. Especially one.
Nice.
So you need to play smart. And in some instances, it's better you maintain your integrity, resign without a job. Somehow you will get by than just in the name of survivor. You can move from survivor to irrelevance. All right. I hope that's
Nicely put. Thank you so much. Thank you. You answered it correctly well. Thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome. All right. I think we have Ola Adebusola. Ola, please. Sile Ola Adebusola.
Yes, thank you very much. That's my name. My name is Shilola Adebusola Kimbawale. I want to firstly appreciate the presenter, and I also want to support the first speaker who was actually gave her experience, the experience that she encountered being a victim of a toxic environment. I want to let her know that she's not the only person in this category, and to also let her know that I've experienced something similar. I've also done an ECG because when I was also going through mine too, it was very, 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 very unpalatable. And what has never happened to me before happened to me one day in the office, that I was having a very severe pain on my chest. It got to a point I couldn't breathe very well. I was rushed to an hospital. I had an ECG, and after that, I came to realize that I can't sacrifice my life. Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We lost you for like 30 seconds. We
Oh,
can
so
hear
sorry
you now.
about that. Okay, let me
Yes.
say this. So I came to realize that I had to speak out, and I contacted some people. At the end of the day, to cut the long story short, I was transferred from that office to another office. Now, with what I've experienced so far now in my new office, I'm trying as much as possible to make the office not to be toxic again, because what I've experienced in the past, I don't want to experience it again. And with this kind of decision, I'm feeling that I'm being weak, because I've experienced a toxic environment before. I want to be happy with everyone around me. I don't want anybody to be offensive. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want any situation whereby somebody is just picking on me for any reason. So now I'm just trying to do all my best, but sometimes I feel as if I'm being weak, I'm being subjective, I'm not doing what I needed to do. You understand? And this has been like a kind of feelings, some kind of bad feeling I'm having within me, that be yourself. Don't give any relevance to what has happened in the past. Just be yourself in this environment. But my take is that if I'm myself, and I do things I need to do, and certain things, and people start thinking about where she's coming from, that's what happened to her, and this is happening to her again. I don't want them to make a reference to what has happened to me in the past, and I'm trying to forget the past, at the same time come up with another clear note, a clean note, and people speak well of me. It's not as if I was bad in that category. It's just that the person I was working with does not have any interest in me, and I couldn't force myself on that person. I tried to beg her, to plead to her to do this. She wasn't seeing the way I'm seeing things. She wasn't just interested in me. That was just clear. It was just clear. Now, is there a way now to actually balance things for myself now? Not allow what I've experienced in the past to affect where I am currently. And at the same time, still be myself. And at the same time, still do what I needed to do and be fair, not compromising. It's not as if I'm compromising, but I'm thinking that I'm too soft in some places where I need to, do certain things, take some certain decisions. I would just say, let me just be quiet. I don't want these people to say, no, this and that, you understand? And this is, I'm not comfortable with it. Again, what has happened in the past too, sometimes when I think about it, I'm not so happy about it. And I think I should just let it go within me. Sometimes I think about it, a whole lot have happened, even during the transfer, what I've experienced as a family woman, the kind of pain that I've experienced, the kind of pain that is happening to my family as a result of the transfer. When I think about it, sometimes I could be bittered. You understand? So please, I just need some kind of encouragement, some kind of words that just be myself, just forget about the past and just move on in life. You know, but working in a very toxic environment is not something, it's not good at all. We should try as much as possible not to allow it to happen. But when it happens, it's not something that you can let go in a while. It's not something you can just forget in a while. You understand? It's better not to happen than it happen and you are just trying to resolve it. For those people that have been in that environment, that have been in that situation, we know what I'm talking about. When that woman was actually narrating her experience, I truly understood her because I've been there before. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Success, you want to respond?
Thank you so much, Ola. Sorry if I can call you Ola. Sorry about the experience you had, and I understand you perfectly. Working in a toxic environment, if you leave that environment to another environment, it will definitely affect you. Yes, it will affect you for a while. I would advise that you see a therapist. Okay, that's one. Secondly, you need to speak with someone that you can confide in, right? To say, okay, this is what I experienced, so that the person can help you walk through getting out of that trauma. For me, a toxic environment is traumatic, right? It's a trauma. So that's why I said, if you can speak to a therapist. I have spoken to a therapist before, right? I've spoken to a therapist and the person helped me to come out of what I was dealing with at the time. So that's why I said you should even also speak to someone that can help you come out of that place. And also, don't bottle things up. You're in a new environment. Try to free yourself, okay? Try to let go. I know it can be very hard, but just try to let go of the past so that it doesn't affect where you are presently. Because if you still keep holding on to the hurt, it's going to affect you in the new place where you are. Okay, so that's my advice for you. And so sorry that you had to go through all that. Mr. Yemi?
Yeah, thank you so much. I would just like to say a few words. Again, I told my friend, my colleague, my sister, Success, that the honest truth is that this kind of topic beyond this session typically goes along with therapy, because people join the session for different reasons. Some people are trying to review their actions, what they've done in their professional lives to see if they were wrong or if they were deserving of certain bad treatments that have been meted out to them. I like to say here categorically that to you, Ma, and then to every other person on this call and anyone listening to this video session tonight, that if you've gone through pain, if you've been maltreated, if you've been ill-treated, either in your workplace or even in your marriage or your relationship, it's not because you deserve it. It's not because you are a bad person. And I need us to see it from that light. I would like to say a few things I'll probably not conventionally have said on a live webinar, but tonight says different night. But I'll use code so that those who can decode can get it. I need you to connect to your higher power. You know, we are, as Africans, we are spiritual beings. We know that, okay? Connect to your higher power. Another thing I like to say to you, man, you see, you need to connect to the things in the past that has worked for you. It may be when you were in primary school, it may be when you were in secondary school. What did you do in your past, in your childhood, that made you feel special or that you are proud of? You see, your situation will just be like a David facing a Goliath when you remember how you handled the bear and how you handled the lion. Okay, once you can reference and anchor 1, 2, 3 previous success stories, it doesn't matter what it is, in what area of life, you tell yourself that, oh, just this hypothetical, oh, if I could be the head girl of my primary school, or if I could win that 100 meters race when I was, if in the university or in the polytechnic, I could do this. You need to anchor, because what is happening to you right now is you are almost anchoring your mental state on this experience. You need another experience that you have had, or someone very close to you, maybe your father or mother, or someone very vivid to you, so that you can move your gaze, your attention from that bad experience to that other positive experience and use it to override it. Because you can't just move from that bad experience to nothing. So you need to do that. Another thing I like to say, and this is not a cliche, you need to convert your pain to gain. Sometimes I like playing with words, but it makes a lot of sense. You know, they say that there are no cross, no crown. Now, you have already participated, tasted the pain. My question is, are you going to miss the game? You have already won the crown. Okay, the cross. You've carried the cross, the career cross. Are you going to wear or carry the career crown? So that's a choice to make. And you will say that because I've gone through this, the corresponding benefits and successes, I will tarry, persevere, and enjoy the dividends of the struggle, of the stress. The another thing I'd like to say here, man, and I'm speaking from personal experience, every time I've gone through, so to speak, any kind of traumatizing career experience, I tell myself that, what can I do to become better? Everything I can put my hands together to today, okay, is because of one pain or one gain. For example, this HR mentorship webinar we do, it was because I went through an agonizing pain that I started the webinar. Today, am I happy with the pain I went through? Yes. We have 82 videos today. So do I feel bad about the pain that gave back to the webinar? No, man. I started my PhD because of something someone said. I registered my first company because of something that someone said. So don't let your pain go to waste. It's already a seed. Let it grow. Okay. Then what do you owe dearly? It could be your children, it could be your grandchildren, it could be. So the pictures and images of whatever you owe dearly, whatever matters to you, okay, please pay attention to it. And lastly, please build capacity, even as you are waiting. So don't just wait like, when you hear the word waiter in a restaurant or hotel, they are like on standby, but they are anticipating. Do you need water? Do you need drinks? Do you need food? You understand? So don't wait and be idle. No, waiting doesn't mean idle. It's like a car engine that is on and you are revving it. So what training are you getting online? This kind of webinars, how are you enhancing your CVs? Are you potentially looking out for external opportunities. So that would be my little contribution to what Success Erica Okuji has said. All right. All right. Patrick Chuko, I wanted your question, but we've responded, and the things we've said so far largely alludes to your situation. Okay. Again, HR, the factor of production. Labor is a factor of production, and one of the unique things about labor or human capital is that we are mobile. Okay, so if you are stuck in a place, with due respect to you and to the place, build your capacity. You can always grow your capacity that you will become obviously better than where you are, and you will move. Success can testify. She knows me very well. Okay, nobody can hold you down. Only you can. And this is not trying to be philosophical or waxing lyrical. No. So if it was one-on-one, I'll ask you some questions. Again, what got you to that job will not take you out of that job. Build capacity, build competence, try and draw your knowledge. I see more people have things to say. We will allow. Fizzy, you have the floor. After Fizzy, we'll take Joy. Fizzy, if you are with us, we are waiting for you to speak, please. Is it my network or Fizzy's network?
Can you hear me? Good evening, sir.
Loud and clear. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes, thank you so much for the educative section. I really appreciate that, and I'm so glad to be part of the session today because I've gained a lot. Thank you so much for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I would like to ask, because I need your assistance, because when you talk about toxicity, virtually most people that I know in some manufacturing industry, they have experienced that too. And then currently, just to cut it short, working with somebody, like I just need an advice how to navigate when you're working with somebody who see you as a threat to our position. Threat in such a way that because you are the most experienced, you know better than the bosses do. That's the person who is your line manager. You are well equipped, you have the right knowledge more than that person, and that person now see you as a threat. So when you are trying to bring in an innovative idea that will promote the department, the person will turn it down. So, and this person also knows that without you, it is very difficult for him, who is the manager, to succeed. So he's trying everything, all means, just to pull you down in such a way that the management will not recognize you, to the extent that it got to a stage that when this person is going on leave, he will not even hand over to anybody. He will still be working remotely from home, controlling everybody from home. So the management now came in, they asked that, is there nobody that can fit in when you are not around? He said nobody. To the extent that the HR has to employ a fresh graduate who knows nothing about the job, and that person was still trained by me. So when I trained that person, and the person also become an hot cake, this manager started pulling this person down also so that they will not grow. So currently now what the person is trying to do now is now trying to pick somebody from the shop floor, trying to expose that person to so many things because that person is somehow related to him. So we're now trying to present the person that is the best in the department. And this person is even junior in CADA. This person is very, very lower in hierarchy to us. So I just need an advice. How do one navigate dealing with somebody that even going to work now, it's more like going to a war front, and then even the environment, everything now, it's really, really causing anxiety, not just even for me, even some people that are under me that are seeing all these things, they are not really happy. And even across the department, people have started saying it's like, this is not a place to be, this is not a great place to work. So how do one navigate dealing with such boss? Please, I need your advice.
Okay. Thank you so much. Because of time, let's quickly take Joy Asupo. That will be our final intervention tonight. Then we'll come back to your question. Joy Asupo, please.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, please.
Okay, mine is not actually a question, but I think you've answered the part. So from everything you said, what I normally tell people is people don't just need they don't leave a company, they leave a bad manager. Most times, lots of times, the managers cannot handle their staff. Like, but that's not necessarily what happened in my own place of work. I just have a toxic environment. I was the HR there. I left there recently. That was after I got another job. But the management just had that belief that you do not have a work-life balance. They can call you at any time, 12 midnight, 1 a.m. To go handle a project. So it became, a problem with a lot of staff. You come in the morning, some staffs are tired because they've been on site, they are working overnight, and you expect them to come to work the next day and to be productive. So I had always had issues with the management. I tried talking with them and they did not see reasons. They just believe that you should give all your youthfulness and time to the organization while you're still young. So I advise people, once you're in that sort of situation where you feel that you're not valued, your voice is not heard, it's time to just leave the place. Just like what he's saying now, as he's not feeling valued while he's working there, it's time for him to move on. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for your intervention, your contribution. Very meaningful, very valuable, and also very, very apt. Of course, I like the fact that you had already spoken to the immediate past speaker, trying to provide solution. The truth is sometimes there is what we call rejection is actually redirection. I'll say that again. Sometimes what we call rejection is actually redirection. Sometimes you might have outgrown an organization or a position or a space, and maybe the place is convenient. When I say convenient, maybe you already live in that area. So it's close to your house, your children's school are close. So you're almost looking as if your destiny is right there. And there may be bigger things out there. Look, it's either that or even internally. The truth is, when you are prolific, I mean, when you are very proficient, you will be so proficient that it will get to a stage where your line manager cannot cover it. I've worked in quite a number of places before. I remember when I was working somewhere, Success knows the place. I had a boss that was territorial. I don't know how. The CEO found out my capacity, and the CEO will reach out to me privately through phone or send for me and say, Oluyemi, what do you think about this? And I will share it. And before I say Jack, the CEO will now write to my boss and turn it to an instruction. Then my boss will now call me and say, Oluyemi, that thing you were saying, Shebi, you have the blueprint. CEO has given us 2 days deadline. Oh, let's run. You won't know. You won't know that it's my instruction that became my instruction for him. Do you understand? So it must be difficult for your boss to continuously put you down and limit your capacity. Have you even tried to meet the MD or the COO or the CFO? There should be 1 or 2 other stakeholders that you'll be able to walk up to, not necessarily reporting to say, oh, look at my ideas. I suggested this. You can't keep suggesting good ideas and they will keep turning it down. Except, of course, that is no longer your zone. That is no longer your territory. And I think you should take it as a redirection and not a rejection. God forbid, if the company falls up today, are you going to say, no, this is where my umbilical cord was buried and stay there? This is not a nationality thing that I say, oh, you're a Nigerian, you must be a Nigerian for life. Even at that, if you can, some people are getting dual citizenship now. You understand where I'm coming from? It may be a call for you to even set up your own consultancy, and maybe instead of providing service for one factory, maybe you now be a consultant and be running that kind of service for 4, 5, 6 manufacturing firm, or move to another one. And if you are not ready to move, then you must be able to navigate that individual. Speak to everybody above her. Have a game plan without you trying to undermine or or, put the person in the bad light. Say, this is what I can do. This is what I have done. I've been here for 10 years, 5 years, whatever. I did this, I did this, I did this. You can confirm this, you can verify this. Then upskill. Again, you've not said it, but I can perceive it. I may be wrong. Get some additional qualification and certification. If, for example, you entered with technical college, for example, get your HND, or you entered with OND, get your HND. If you have HND or BSc, do your master's. You see, you must do things that it will get to a point that it will be difficult to ignore. I transited into the academia. When I entered, on day one, I was on 48 papers. Immediately I got there, everybody, so to speak, at my level became my friend by force. Because some of them had 10, 5, 7. Immediately, within my first 1 week on my current job, like 3 people came to meet me, sir, can we write paper together? Why? They knew that the paper will come to fruition. Why? I have a track record. A track record cannot be concealed. That's just what I'm saying. If you have a track record and it is concealed, it's not yet a record yet. I'll say this in English, but I'm saying it in Yoruba in case you are Yoruba. Use your Yoruba here to hear me clear. Can the son's glory be covered? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Success Erica Okoji for handling this topic. The topic was our idea. Thank you so much for bringing so much life, vigor. You will feel from our presentation that she spoke from her heart. She spoke from her experience, and she did a good job with the presentation slide. I'd like to thank you. I also like to thank the over 60, 70 people who joined this session live tonight. I'd like to thank every man, every woman who contributed either in the chat box or who raised their voice to ask a question, share their experiences. We do not take any of these things for granted. We pray that for every one of us tonight on this call, that God will continue to bless us and keep us, that for anyone hurting, that God will cause us to experience true restoration, that God will recompense us, God will compensate us. For everything we have lost, we'll get quadruple by God's grace. We ask for strength, for wisdom, for capacity, for anyone going through pain, trauma, as a result of the working environment they are facing today. And if there's any stubborn line manager, any stubborn management, we move you right now if you refuse to change. And to all the good bosses out there who are making life meaningful, purposeful, who are adding value, are allowing, supporting, encouraging, energizing, enabling their colleagues to thrive. We also pray that God will bless you so much that all the bad ships in the house will see a good reason to turn over a new leaf because they see that you are prospering. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a beautiful night. Success, Erica Okoji. Thank you. Good night. Stay in touch, please. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Good night, everyone.